We are going to watch a new video today. This is a video that was suggested to me in Discord, which shows how easy it is to control me like a puppet master. Someone shoved their arm up my ass and is moving my mouth, and I am now watching the video that they suggested. How one man ruined the $400,000 Mountain Dew Game Jam.
Every single contestant of the Mountain Dew Game Jam walked off set, refusing to participate any longer. What should have been a celebration of indie gaming ended up being an undignified waste of time with a $400,000 price tag.
They walked out of a $400,000 prize? Are you telling me that a corporation like PepsiCo fucked something up? No.
Some of you out there might be wondering what the hot heck a Game Jam is. And no, it's not a delicious spread you put on your toast before taking a megabyte.
Is that how I sound?
Some of you out there might be wondering what the hot heck a Game Jam is. And no, it's not a delicious spread you put on your toast before taking a megabyte.
Oh, I'm looking in a mirror and I don't like it.
Game Jams are community-run events that task game devs from all skill levels and walks of life to create one of them video games from scratch in a limited amount of time, usually only a couple of days. A number of wildly successful games have been born from the frantic insanity of a game jam, including Celeste, Surgeon Simulator.
Celeste was a Game Jam game?
They're as much a way to explore new ideas as they are to celebrate the tight-knit indie dev community. So when a number of indie devs and gaming YouTubers were approached with an opportunity to share their passion with the world, they were over the moon. The idea of a Game Jam documentary show was first cooked up by Game Jolt founder David Dickmean, and Indie Static
David what?
Was first cooked up by Game Jolt founder David Dickmean.
David Dick Me?
The pitch was simple. Green Label Game Jam seeks to provide viewers with insight into the technical and artistic process of developing a game in the format of a reality competition show. We seek to do for indie games what Top Chef did for cooking.
That actually sounds goated and scroted because I love reality shows. I've been watching a lot of reality shows on my channel. It feels like a reality show with teams of indie game devs would be fun and cool.
It was a sound idea and one not yet explored within the medium. Mixed with the backing of Polaris, a subnetwork of maker studios that's
that's how they fucked it up.
Specialized in creating content primarily for the YouTube gaming market, or virgins, and they had the recipe for what could be somewhere between...
Come on, man.
The YouTubers consisted of JonTron, Markiplier, Captain Sparkles, and Sam Strippin. And the
so they're the judges?
Included a number of well-known indie game developers, including Adriel Wallach, Zoe Quinn, Davey Reedon, Tom Jackson, and Robin Arnott. The games themselves were to be judged by Angry Joe Vargas, Nidhogg...
Wait, why are we JonTron Monka-essing? JonTron is a white nationalist? What? JonTron under fire for comments on race and immigration in 2017? Oh my. I don't know. I've seen his face before. I feel like he's in memes maybe. Oh no. Fuck. Is that what goes wrong here? Is JonTron the one man?
The problems began the same way they always do. Money. However, for once the problem wasn't a lack of Alexander Hamiltons, but an excess. In an effort to ramp up production value, spend less money themselves, and satisfy that week's Coke binge, Polaris signed sponsorship deals for exorbitant amounts that, in turn, made them a slave to the whims of the brands. The production cost anywhere between $400,000 and $450,000, and most of this money was supposedly from their sponsors. Or perhaps I should say sponsor. Namely PepsiCo, owners and squirters of Mountain Dew. After such a hefty investment, PepsiCo wanted to ensure that their money wouldn't go to waste and did what all soulless corporate entities do. Haphazardly force changes that benefit nobody except the people in charge while ultimately sucking the life out of whatever was special in the first place. While the people...
Ladies and gentlemen, this stream is brought to you by Manscaped. If you need a new razor for your balls, let's go!
The original idea was completely obscured by goo and slurry. Most importantly, these resulted in a direct pivot away from a show about the reality of game development to, well, a reality show that might show game development at some point. if you behave yourself. Idiotic challenges,
Why are they doing this? This doesn't seem like it should be in the show.
artificial dramas, and storylines invented in the editing suite were all added to spice things up. As though teams of professional game developers creating an entire video game in only 4 days with minimal sleep wouldn't have been interesting enough. Game Jam reserved the right to completely misrepresent any of the contestants. This is standard among reality shows and allows production companies to fabricate storylines, turn people into villains, and otherwise use editing tricks and movie magic to just plain make shit up. Of course, the problem was that the contestants of Game Jam didn't think they were making a reality show. They thought they were making a show about the reality of making a game. Not only that, but almost all indie studios are small teams, often solo, with the devs acting as the face of the company. Having someone's words and actions twisted into drama for the sake of entertainment could potentially ruin someone's reputation and by extension their projects and team.
Wow, they only went 4 days.
Day one rolls around and the developers immediately realized that sour taste was about to reach hydrochloric levels. Our heroes enter the Maker Studio set in Culver City and were greeted with a grand, gaudy game show set with all the trimmings, judge panels, stages, and themed team workspaces, all slathered in Mountain Dew signage so that it would be theoretically impossible to get a shot that didn't have at least one logo in frame at any one time. Production staff were frantically running around like ants working for a coked up queen, and one guy was probably on a Segway because that seems like something one of those Hollywood douchebags would do. Whatever this was, it was a spit in the face of the ramshackle, low-budget earnestness that was so indicative of indie game development. Still, the gamers, jammers, and racial slur spammers pressed on regardless and were put into their teams and began to do the do or jam the game or whatever they were there for. Now seems like a good time to bring up just what $400,000 of sponsorship money gets you. In addition to Mountain Dew tramp stamps placed on every flat surface, every prize was Mountain Dew themed because what is life if not a perpetual quest for more Mountain Dew swag?
That's what I'm talking about, baby. Mountain Dew sponsor me, PepsiCo!
These prizes were incredibly lackluster, including diabetes water lawn chairs, a Mountain Dew Dew pack, which remains a mystery to this day, and of course, the grand prize, a year's supply of Pistvers, access to ID at Xbox, something almost everybody already had or could easily acquire, and a trip to the Mountain Dew Action Ranch. According to one of the devs of the game Aegis Defenders,
that's the prize? You get to go to the Mountain Dew factory?
Who were contestants on the show, we were standing in this room under hot lights, and the host, who were all YouTubers, goes, and the grand prize will be a trip to the Mountain Dew Action Ranch. And nobody said anything. No one gave a shit about the Mountain Dew Action Ranch. They made us do like 4 more takes, and we're finally like, we'll try it tomorrow. Now, you might think that a show named Game Jam, about a game jam, starring contestants who are game developers, might actually involve game development at some point. While you would technically be right, it's much the same as saying that my channel technically has good content on it. Crew members supposedly leaked.
Damn, the self-roast. Let's go!
They would only be spending a fraction of the time actually working on their games, with the majority of the time being spent doing reality show challenges. These challenges were integrated about as well as a mouse into a McChicken and were only tangentially related to the task at hand. From what I've been able to dig up, these included some weird arts and crafts project, an obstacle course with road cones, the YouTuber having to record a Let's Play video of one of the games that the devs on their team had released, and my personal favorite, having to work without power for 30 minutes. On a fucking video game.
What?
The devs.
Could you imagine? You're like trying so hard to get started in an industry that is as difficult as game dev, right? So many people make good games that never even get the time of day, that don't get any traction, and are forced to go back to accounting jobs. And then, one beacon in the distance. All of a sudden, Markiplier is going to be on your team, you're going on this reality show, and everyone in the world is going to see your game. And then you get on set and you got to fire lasers at a rock and they turn the lights off on you and then they dump Mountain Dew on your head. It just seems so shitty.
Since they negotiated their contract to no longer allow misrepresentation, the production company instead decided to opt for representation. of you in your worst state after being riled up to act out for the camera. This brings us to the villain of our story, Maddie Leshin. Maddie Leshin was the CEO of Protagonist, a creative agency that specialized in creating engaging ad interactions for big brands and ruining major productions. Matty was hired as a Pepsi consultant, a job title less dignified than human trafficker, and was there to ensure that the considerable money that Pepsi had put into the whole affair would guarantee a return. Matty was the personification of all of the corporate meddling mentioned thus far, a Hollywood scumbag who managed to weasel his way into being a director of sorts by simply being the loudest, shiniest, and most intimidating guy on set. Whether this was intentional or otherwise, one of the teams had the pairing of John Tron and Zoe Quinn. While this was pre-Gamergate, the two still had incredibly conflicting personalities and opinions. Exactly the sort of thing that leeches like Maddie could jump on for some easy drama. Oh, and if you don't know what Gamergate is, yeah, you're not missing much. Say what you will about John or Zoe.
I mean, when was this video made? Can they say that John Tron was just a literal Nazi?
Cameras came at them from all angles, hoping to catch an explosive blowout that could be twisted into something more in the editing room. When they refused to give him what he wanted, they were both individually cornered later in the day, prompted to try and talk shit about the other. Again, both refused. The fact that any argument, friendly or otherwise, could be caught on film and then used against them in post became a real fear for everyone involved.
Were they all going to be super nice to each other?
The people he was dealing with were competent professionals who didn't want to ruin their reputation and not the sort of clout-thirsty cum demons that make up your average reality show. That the people he was dealing with were competent professionals who didn't want to ruin their reputation and not the sort of clout-thirsty cum demons that make...
Jesus Christ, dude.
Both of the all-male teams were approached by Maddie and asked, on camera, two of the other teams have women on them. Do you think they're at a disadvantage? The teams were taken aback. Markiplier replied with,
"Hey, Peter, the teams actually had a huge advantage by having more viewpoints.
That's classy.
Though everyone was strong regardless because of their skill."
What an answer. Holy shit, Markiplier.
According to Jared's article on The Jam, he was swiftly cut off by Maddie, who then added, "Stop filming, we're not getting a story here." Leaving the teams dumbfounded, he decided to power up to his final form. Matty approached Adriel Wallach, the only other girl on the contest besides Zoe, and asked her, "Do you think you're at an advantage because you have a pretty girl on your team?" After initially declining to respond, Maddie kept prodding until, much to Adriel's chagrin, he managed to get a rise out of her. He got me to, with an embarrassed and flushed red face, launch into a statement about how his question is indicative of everything that is wrong in our industry in terms of sexism. That no, we weren't at an advantage because we had a woman on our team. We were at an advantage because I'm a damn fine programmer and game developer. We were at an advantage because my skills allowed us to be at an advantage, not my pretty face. Maddie attempted to corner Zoe for gossip one last time, prompting them to tell him to go fuck himself and walking off set. This was supposedly the tipping point when the contestants realized that their individual experiences weren't uncomfortable one-off blunders, but a series of unfortunate events. In a show of solidarity, and probably as a way to get off the ship that had begun to sink before it even set sail, the contestants all walked one by one. John, Joe and Tom got drunk and had a sleepover at John's parents' house. Plans for a new Game Jam show, an actual Game Jam, were thrown around by contestants. JonTron, along with fellow teammate Tom Jackson, went on and made this a reality 5 years later. Adriel hosts a yearly Game Jam that takes place entirely on a moving train called
Snowpiercer the Game Jam? That's actually so sick. Train Jam.
The people's passion for gaming only burned brighter, seemingly unable to be put out by the refreshing lemon lime flavor of an ice cold Mountain Dew.
That video, while moderately exciting, I think if you would ask me like, hey, do you think that PepsiCo can fuck up a Game Jam event? I would say, yes, I do think that PepsiCo can fuck up a Game Jam event. In fact, I think that PepsiCo is likely to fuck up a Game Jam event.